What's going on, everybody? Good afternoon. Hope you guys are doing well. Had a really nice show with the Hawks Nest earlier today. Go check it out on VOD if you didn't catch it live. Should be live on both of our channels. And we've got another offensive coordinator to look at today, and I feel obligated to do this one because we actually requested an interview with him. But I'm going to be perfectly honest, this is going to be hard. This is going to be difficult because there is so little to say about Grant Udinski that this video is going to have a lot of work to do to fill even like 6-7 minutes. I like to try to make these videos at least 10 minutes, going up to maybe 15 or 18 for guys with a really long career, but Udinski, there's just not enough to talk about. In fact, the main thing that's interesting to talk about with him is how little there is to talk about him, but let's do our best here, because the team clearly sees something in him that they like, and I don't blame them for that. But at the same time, I would certainly hope that this Seahawks team is able to do better than this when they're trying to find an offensive coordinator for a team that is theoretically trying to make sure they can win something covetable in the next couple years. This is a hire you make if you're rebuilding and you know you're gonna guarantee him the job for a few years pretty much no matter what, and you're gonna basically accept that he's gonna go through growing pains, and you hope that by the time he figures it out, the team is ready to go win. It's not where the Seahawks are right now. Now, it's where the Seahawks could theoretically be, but I don't think they're gonna choose to do that. What are they gonna do? Blow it up after a 10-win season? Teams don't usually do that. So, nevertheless, let's try to figure out what they see here. 28 years old. 28 years old. McVay was about that old when he got hired by the Rams. I understand that. And I understand that McVay didn't have a wealth of experience as well, but I think it was better than this. And there's a reason why people were so shocked about the McVay thing. It doesn't happen very often. And if it did happen more often, it would probably end in failure a lot more. If you had a lot of teams hiring guys in their 20s to be head coaches or offensive coordinators or whatever, most of them would probably fall flat on their face, and then you'd occasionally get the Sean McVay. So let's talk about what can be talked about. He's been with the Vikings coaching staff these last 3 years, and this is why there's a little bit of hype here, right? Everybody who touches Kevin O'Connell right now is getting hype as a potential coach, and Udinski's the latest beneficiary of that. He's not the only one. Wes Phillips and Josh McCown are going to both get hype for jobs this offseason because they were part of this Vikings team that overachieved massively this season. In 2024, Grant Udinski was the assistant offensive coordinator and assistant quarterback coach. So 2 different roles, but both of them pretty minor. Assistant offensive coordinator, assistant quarterback coach. So not even the main quarterback coach, assistant. Now, look, the Vikings did a good job in 2024. They scored 25.4 points per game, which was 9th in the league. And .03 ADPA is a little above average, too. I would say that maybe this is a little cautionary, that their offense was a little bit of a paper tiger. And the last 2 games of the year with the pressure on, they sure wilted. But I think the sense is that has more to do with Sam Darnold than it does anything else. And they got borderline MVP caliber play out of Sam Darnold, and he's never been anywhere close to that good before. 4,300 yards, 35 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, 66% completion, ran for 200 yards and a touchdown. Credit where credit's due. Sam Darnold, getting that kind of play out of him should get you some positive attention, but who are you going to give that positive attention to? Is it going to be Kevin O'Connell? Is it going to be Wes Phillips? Is it going to be Josh McCown? Are you going to give it to Grant Udinski? I'm not saying there isn't enough credit to go around to give a little bit to Udinski, but let's be real here. So the year before that, 2023, which was the year the Vikings were bad, he was the assistant quarterback coach, again, and chief of special projects. Now, I don't know what chief of special projects means. I don't know what those special projects were. So I can't really comment on that. I don't know what that means. I've never seen anybody else have a position like that before on a coaching staff. But if you look at the quarterbacks the Vikings had in 2023, Kirk Cousins was off to a phenomenal start. 18 touchdowns, 2,300 yards in 10 games, and 65% completion, 104 QB rating. Then he got hurt. and they had to cycle between a few different guys the rest of the season, and they tried their hardest to make it work, couldn't quite pull it off. Nick Mullins, 1,300 yards, 7 touchdowns, 8 picks, 88.4 QB rating. Joshua Dobbs, 900 yards, 5 touchdowns, 5 picks, 76.4 QB rating, ran for about $160 and 3 touchdowns. Jaron Hall did a little bit, 168 yards, 70.4 QB rating. Oh, they tried. I mean, these guys are not very good. None of them are all that talented. None of them bring that much to the table. Vikings did what they could. But again, even if you're going to try to give somebody credit for all this, there's a lot of guys in front of Udinski that you would probably want to give credit to first. No disrespect to Udinski, but you're on the staff with guys like O'Connell. You're on the staff with guys like Wes Phillips. It's just not going to come right to you. So 2023, I guess he did good, but it's hard to know exactly what he was doing. And then in 2022, his first year, he was special projects. So not even chief of special projects, just special projects. Again, I don't know what that means. And he was assistant to the head coach. Not assistant head coach, assistant to the head coach, right? Assistant head coach would be like Leslie Frazier. Assistant to the head coach, I don't think I've heard of before, but it seems like it's different. So anyway, I mean, the Vikings were great this year, in fairness. 13 wins, 25 points per game, 8th in the league. They were actually averaging EPA, barely a positive EPA, which is, that merits some explorations. Why do the Vikings keep having really strong seasons by points per game, but then they have these very mediocre, at best, EPA rankings? I wonder what the correlation is there, but I mean, it's good, but what does it really mean? Anyway, the only other stuff we have for Udinski is when he was with the Carolina Panthers in 2020 and 2021, he was a coaching assistant. In 2021, the Panthers were a 5-win team. They averaged about 18 points per game, 29th in the league, negative .132 EPA, which was 30th. Bad, bad, bad. And then in 2020, 5-11, bad team. Slightly worse, slightly better offense, but still bad. 21.9 points per game, 24th. Barely a positive EPA. And remember, this was the COVID year where everybody was scoring. So having a barely positive EPA doesn't mean what it means in any other season. 19th in the league is still not terrible, but again, he's a coaching assistant. Who knows what he's doing? Who knows what to read into this? And that's it, guys. I think in as recently as 2018, he was playing football, right? There would be several players on this team who are older than Grant Udinski. Geno Smith would be significantly older than Grant Udinski. I don't know. I'm not in these locker rooms. I've never been in a locker room with players, but I imagine it would be hard to look at your offensive coordinator and see a guy who's significantly older than you are, or significantly younger than you are. Yeah. Here's what I will say. This might be an interview to try to find a passing game coordinator. So maybe they're thinking like, well, we're going to find another offensive coordinator. It's obviously not this guy, but we want to get this guy on the books so that way we can decide if we want to hire him as like a passing game coordinator after the OC, if the OC isn't married to his own guy. I could see that, and I could get behind that. But if this guy jumps the line to become a full play calling offensive coordinator, that'll be hard for me to defend and hard for me to get excited about. All right. See you guys later. Go Hawks.